Hello, good morning. Welcome back. This I hold in my hands is my rough draft of my practicum, the 60-minute practice of it. So I already have the meditation and the warm up, and I know I can do the cool down. That is the most complicated part. In school, we are the heart of yoga. We refer to this book quite a bit, but the Yoga Sutras, this one really struck me, and I kind of circled it. By abiding in freedom from desire for others' possessions, or you're always looking at somebody else's life and comparing yourself to them and wanting what they have. So this one really struck me. By abiding in freedom from the desire for others' possessions, that which is precious is revealed, and all that is beneficial is freely given. By abiding in freedom from the desire for others' possessions, that which is precious is revealed, and all that is beneficial is freely given. So like when somebody's in competition with you, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else and what they have, and I need that, I want that. We kind of talked about that. And someone brought up an interesting point. This is somebody else's. I am open to something bigger and better. It's not comparing yourself. Somebody brought that up, and I jotted that on the side too. So that one really struck me. And then 39, upon the foundations of freedom from greed, one gains insight into the reasons for the cycle of birth and death. Freedom from ownership or desire. So that's where we left off. There's a really long one here, 34. I kind of sat with that one for a while too, and 35. But that was the previous class. Negative thoughts and emotions are violent in that they cause injury to yourself and others, regardless of whether they are performed by you, done by others, or permitted to be done. They arise from greed, anger, delusion, regardless of whether they arise from mild to moderate or excessive emotional intensity. They result in endless misery and arrogance. Therefore, when you consistently cultivate the opposite thoughts and emotions, the unwholesome tendencies are gradually destroyed. And then I'm going to read 35. By abiding in nonviolence, one's presence creates an atmosphere in which hostility ceases. So like these two classes really struck a chord. And in this book, it's page 26 and 27. Like just food for thought, it's a practice, not a perfect, you try to come back to these. They've also taught when you're in a situation where things might get heated, to pause and think. Sometimes I still have a difficult time doing that. But this book was recommended, the Yamas and the Niyamas, and it talks about, let me find the pages. It breaks it down deeper. And the Yamas and the Niyamas, nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing. Stealing can be stealing somebody else's time or not respecting your own time, procrastinating. It gives so many examples in this book. Non-excess, non-possessiveness, purity, commitment, self-discipline, self-study, and surrendering. So this one I'm definitely going to hold on to and keep for a while. Now, I was very curious. We do a Priya chant or prayer, whatever you want to call it. And I had some experiences like when we were trying to open the third eye and I was trying to force it. And then one morning I was just laying in bed and the currents just straight across. And they say with the Kundalini energy, there's like a snake curled at the bottom of the spine and it comes up. Well, I think we did the chant 3 or 4 times in a certain amount of time. And then one night I was gradually waking up, about 5 a.m, and I had it come up and it was outside of me and then just straight back into the third eye and back down. I was like, well, that was interesting. And I always anytime I meditated or practiced breath work, that would happen in the past. Like that would show up for me. And I also bought a copy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I haven't read it, but it seems very interesting. Like I'll have a lot of material to read poolside or whatever. But I like the pages in it because yeah, it's pretty cool. They're pretty thick. So, but I do think the ancestral karma that I found this book in probably 2016, 2017, and I've been using it the last 3 or 4 years, goes hand in hand with Nidra. I have read over half of this book, and I'm going to read the other half and be prepared to do some self-work, you know, anything with PTSD, depression, anxiety, you know, if you came from a very traumatic upbringing. Like I find these helpful because like I don't do like medication, I do herbal supplements. So all right, so this is my St. Michael deck. I was brought up with a certain number of saints to a certain age. So the Queen of Air, independent, experience, realistic, witty. Objective decision making, clearing away all that no longer serves you and seeing the humor in the situation. Okay. Four of Air. Time to rest and take a vacation. Allow time before making a decision. Meditate may provide the answers. Meditation may provide the answers. And then 8 of Water. The desire to move on. The search for something more meaningful and spiritually and emotional growth. So these kind of speak to me. Moving on, it's moving on from people, places, and things that no longer serve my highest good. The Hermit. Spend time in quiet meditation. 2 cards telling you about quiet meditation, spiritual teachings, and self-discipline. So I've had this deck for a while. You know, the corners are tore up. This is one of my favorite decks. I also have another angel deck, which is the Angel's Answers. I may not post anything yoga for a few days because I need to get this down. There are some poses I'm still practicing that I plan to upload. Or yeah, hopefully after, you know, I get some of my homework situated. I am working full-time. I am going to school and I shoot videos when I have time. Eventually, what I want this to morph into, I want to be posting maybe 2 to 4 things a week. And if it really, really takes off, then when I start cutting back hours and maybe teaching after I get my certification, Hatha yoga or whatever, going into Nidra is definitely going to happen. And I definitely want to do yin. Because I'll come home and I'll sleep like a baby after my YTT program and signing up with an instructor, and like my body's like yes. And especially if I've had a therapy session too before that in the same day, I am wiped and I'm out. So, but I pretty much prefer books, and sometimes I'm better at implementing them than others, but I'm not holding any judgment on myself. I was like, okay, I moved away from this for a while. I could really use to come back to this. And I don't really journal, which, you know, that was strongly recommended. Like going through this program, our experiences with everything that's going around. Some people may video blog it, but this is where I'm at right now. And I'm looking forward to summer with time off in the spring and the summer to really bring myself forth and do this. Well, that's all I have for today. Just some things I do. And I'm a big believer in oracle cards or like tarot cards. Like some of mine have some positive meanings, and I have some decks when some stuff is afoot that I look at. Well, thank you for joining me today. And